So here at Cheltenham this week, the starts have been an ongoing news story. We've had 7 false starts, and we've also had 10 jockeys receiving bans for misconduct. And so I thought we'd dig into it a little bit more. Robbie Supple, who leads the starting team, is with me, and also Shaun, who is the head of stewarding for the BHA. I think some of the starts, Robbie, that have been affected have been unsatisfactory, and also we've had a higher number of false starts than you would ideally want. You said that you thought they've been fair starts. Why do you think they've been fair?
I said we're trying to achieve a fair start. Yeah, obviously, not every horse has. It hasn't worked out that way, but it's not that we haven't been trying to reach that. We're always trying to reach 100%, but due to the competitiveness of the race in here and the number of runners, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. It's the same in most competition. You are going to have somebody gaining a little bit of an edge and others just being affected, because when you decide to go, a horse or a jockey may just decide at that point that they're going to do something different, and it is split down to split-second things sometimes.
Well, the jockeys are saying, and a number of other commentators, that there have been opportunities to have fairer starts than we've actually ended up with, and suggesting that there's a breakdown of communication or trust between the starting team and the jockeys. What would you say to that?
No, I would say that there are a lot of jockeys, younger riders, under a lot of pressure from their people to get good starts, and due to the number of runners and layout of the track at certain starts, it is very difficult for them. We appreciate how tough the job the jockeys have, and I feel most of those jockeys are supportive, are doing their best, but every now and then, under the pressure, they decide to anticipate, and unfortunately we have to stop them. From the TV, on ITV, some of the shots have not shown the starter, and when the flag goes up. They've been focused on the horses. And
that's not the case on racing TV, though.
Well, but I'm just saying from the public feedback. When for example, on one occasion, I know the horse had been walking in, the team on the ground are speaking to the jockeys, and when I put the flag up, the jockeys just kicked on. Now, we can't have them starting themselves. They've got to wait till I drop the flag.
But to push back on your point about inexperienced riders, it's not inexperienced riders who end up with the bans. Keith Donoghue, Rachel Blackmore, they've got bans.
They have, and they're two very good riders, but they've gone with another horse before the flag was being dropped. The rules have not changed since 2014.
Are you trying to reach perfection when perfection isn't possible with a big field, high-pressure contest that we have here over the 4 days?
No, I don't agree with you. We're trying to be fair. We're doing our best to be fair, and there is a little bit of flexibility. It's meant to be a walk, jig, jog. We will accept trotting. Odd times, if a horse on the outside, it can be kind of hacking on the spot, but as long as he's not in front of the rest, we'll let them go. But we can't have them. In the past, we've been here lots of times in the past, and at the time the starter in charge was told, oh, if they're on the nice bunch, just let them go. But what ends up happening is they end up getting faster and starting further back every race, and it didn't work. It's been tried before, and all these suggestions we've had, they're nothing new.
So before I move on to Shaun, one question about lack of trust. Will Biddock got a ban for turning Gitmaker around prior to the last race, the Kim Muir, and for not proceeding as he was asked to. And isn't that because he felt that his communication wasn't going to be heard, so he took a decision into his own hands to turn Gitmaker because it wasn't right for him?
Well, I'll let Shaun answer that question after, but what the man starting that race, the jockeys were trying to get their horses back. One horse did take off and drew some of the others with him. There was time for the jockeys to get them back to an acceptable pace, and that's what the starter was trying to achieve at that race. But Will made up his own mind that he wanted to start aborted and took it into his own hands before the flag was waved.
Surely emblematic of a lack of trust, isn't it?
I don't think so, Lydia. I think all the other riders have basically followed the instructions. So when the flag is raised, that's a signal for the horses to then approach the starter, which is asked them to do. The balance of the fields have all done that. They have tried to basically get their horses back. And there was that point there where we feel that we probably could have started that race at that particular time, but for the fact that he had pulled out, and that is the issue. All the other riders have had the trust, have followed up and gone to the tape.
But you've got to admit that these starts have been unsatisfactory over the 3 days. What can be done about it? I mean, people have suggested that maybe the sighting of the starts having to come round a bend, so you have horses in big fields on the inside walking, and inevitably the horses on the wide outside having to trot or more in order to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, we look at all these starts in as they happen. So we look at them in isolation. So, for example, race by race, we get back after the race. The starters come back, review the races with us. We then try and ascertain what the cause of that is. And sometimes it is just the fact that you've got horses at these festivals. They are really big fields. The horses are basically hyped up. We understand the pressures that the riders are on. Sometimes the sighting of the starts does play a part in terms of where they are. And if one horse kicks on and the balance of the field take on without the riders trying to encourage them forward, we accept that that is part and parcel of it. Whilst not ideal, we will then basically call the false start. What we would look at from the stewarding perspective is that where we feel the rider has basically anticipated the start, given a nudge, and before the start has been triggered by the starter, and caused other horses to go with him. In those particular cases where we feel it is the rider's error and misjudgment at the start, we will then deal with it from a regulatory point of view.
Finally, you've got to agree that this is unsatisfactory. On the biggest stage, we can't have 7 full starts and some raggedy starts. I'll stick with that at the start, where horses have been disadvantaged. Would you commit to a review of the starts, a proper one that the public can understand as a result of what's happened over these 3 days so far?
Look, we do understand that traditionally at these festivals we do have a higher number of false starts than we would have normally at these normal races. We get that the bigger fields this does happen. And as per every festival, we do all our rules, our guidances are constantly under review, and I'm sure this will be one that we'll also take under review, as we normally do at the end of every major festival.
Okay. Well, Shaun, Robbie, I hope it's better today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.